Think for a moment about the future version of yourself, not as someone far away or disconnected, but as yourself, just at a later point in time. Every choice you make today is building that person's reality. In this video, we're going to explore how your everyday decisions shape the life you'll live in the future. We'll talk about how seeing that connection clearly can help you understand your own responsibility to yourself over time. So let's dive in and take a closer look at how today's actions become tomorrow's life. Welcome to the Glitch Cult, a space where we slow down and look carefully at how our everyday choices quietly shape the life we end up living. Most people think about their future self as a distant idea, something abstract, someone they'll deal with later. But the future version of you is not a different person. It is simply you continuing forward, carrying the consequences of what you do today. When you look at your life right now, you are already living inside decisions that were made years ago, even if you don't consciously connect them that way. So let's think about how that connection really works. When you imagine your future self, don't picture success or failure yet. Just picture a normal day in their life. What does their morning look like? How does their body feel when they wake up? How clear or cluttered is their mind? These are not random outcomes. They are built slowly through habits, neglect, effort, and avoidance that happen long before that future day arrives. The mistake people make is thinking that responsibility only applies to other people. Family, work, society. But there's also a responsibility across time. You are responsible to the person you will become, not in a moral or dramatic way, in a practical way. In the same way you would be responsible for maintaining something you own so it doesn't decay. Right now, you're the only person who can make life easier or harder for your future self. No one else gets that wrong. Every time you ignore your health, your future self inherits the damage. Every time you avoid learning something you know you'll need, your future self pays the price in stress and limitation. Every time you delay fixing a problem, you're not deleting it. You are postponing it and increasing its cost. This is not about guilt. It's about accuracy. If you borrow money and never repay it, the debt doesn't disappear. It grows. The same applies to neglected responsibilities in life. They accumulate quietly. And when your future self arrives, they don't get to refuse the bill. Seeing life this way changes how you interpret small decisions. Skipping a day of effort doesn't feel neutral anymore. It becomes a choice to make tomorrow heavier. Taking care of something today doesn't feel heroic. It feels like basic maintenance. The mirror of time simply shows you this. You are already in conversation with your future self. Every action is a message. Every habit is a pattern you're handing forward. And whether you acknowledge it or not, your future self will respond by living with what you left behind. Most people think responsibility is about action. What they don't realize is that an action is also a decision with consequences that are often heavier than they expect. When you choose not to act, you are not choosing nothing. You are choosing to let things continue exactly as they are, including their slow decline. This matters because life naturally moves toward disorder if nothing interrupts it. Skills fade when they are not used. Health declines when it is not maintained. Opportunities close when preparation is delayed. These are not punishments. They're just how systems behave over time. When you avoid effort today, your future self does not experience that avoidance as rest. They experience it as pressure. Pressure to catch up. Pressure to fix problems under worse conditions. Pressure to perform without preparation. That pressure doesn't come all at once. It builds quietly until one day it feels overwhelming and you don't remember when it started. Effort, on the other hand, works differently. It does not need to be extreme to matter. Small, consistent effort has a compounding effect that your future self feels as relief. Not excitement, but relief. Fewer emergencies, fewer urgent fixes, fewer moments where everything feels fragile. Think about something simple like learning a skill. If you spend a little time learning now, your future self operates with confidence instead of uncertainty. If you don't, your future self operates with hesitation, needing more time, more energy, and more emotional effort to do the same task. The task doesn't change, the cost does. This applies to emotional work too. Avoiding difficult conversations doesn't make relationships stable. It makes them tense. The future version of you then has to deal with resentment, distance, or confusion that didn't appear suddenly. It formed slowly while you chose comfort over clarity. Effort is a gift because it reduces friction in the future. Not because it guarantees success, but because it increases stability. It makes life less reactive, more manageable, less exhausting. When you understand this, effort stops feeling like something you do to improve yourself. It becomes something you do to protect your future self from unnecessary hardship. Not because you owe the world anything, but because you understand how time transfers responsibility forward. Gratitude from your future self doesn't look like praise. It looks like ease. It looks like waking up without immediate stress. It looks like knowing how to handle problems instead of panicking when they appear. It looks like having options instead of feeling trapped. Your future self doesn't thank you with words. They thank you by not suffering unnecessarily. This is about reframing how you measure progress. Most people look for visible results, big changes, external validation. But your future self cares less about visible success and more about internal stability, about not having to rebuild from neglect, about not having to undo years of avoidance. When you take care of your health now, your future self thanks you by having energy. When you build discipline now, your future self thanks you by having structure. When you learn patience now, your future self thanks you by being able to think clearly under pressure. This is why chasing motivation often fails. Motivation is about feelings. Responsibility to your future self is about outcomes. It's about understanding that the way you live today becomes the conditions you live under tomorrow. This doesn't mean you live in constant pressure or self-judgment. It means you develop a quiet awareness, a sense of alignment between what you do now and what kind of life you want to live later. Not a perfect life, a manageable one. When people say they feel lost later in life, it's often because earlier versions of themselves didn't leave guidance behind. No routines, no skills, no internal structure, just unfinished business and unresolved patterns. But when you act with your future self in mind, even imperfect effort creates continuity. Your life starts to feel connected instead of fragmented. Past, present, and future stop fighting each other. The goal is not to impress your future self. The goal is to not burden it. If your future self could speak to you now, they wouldn't ask for greatness. They would ask for care, for honesty, for consistency, for you to stop pretending that time will magically solve what only responsibility can. And once you understand that, the way you live today naturally becomes quieter, clearer, and more intentional. Not because someone told you to change, but because you finally see who you're really doing this for.